Well, hi there. I'm Michael Hausum of the Hausum Group at Vista Pacific Realty. This is the Orange County Residential Real Estate Marketplace Update for the week ending May 10th. Now, the question for this week is, did we just hit peak demand for the year? Remember, 2 weeks ago, there was a slight uptick in demand. The last 2 weeks, demand has dropped. And that's very, very typical for May. Usually what happens is this, is demand starts out low at the end of the year and goes up, usually hits a peak sometime in May or June, or early June, and then it slowly decreases throughout the year. So let's take a look at these charts and see what we can figure out. Note here that over the last 3 years, the demand peaks have been right around this time. Look at this year's numbers and the little drop that's happened in the last 2 weeks. So what does this mean? Is the hot season over? Well, unless something extraordinary happens, absolutely not. Things may be slowing down from a demand perspective, but there's a tremendous amount of activity still going on in the marketplace and will continue to do so. The way I look at it is an analogy like this. The longest day of the year is June 20th. That's literally the latest sunset of the year. But you don't start noticing that the days are getting shorter for quite some time. And it literally takes several months before it's a huge gap and it's really dark earlier. That's exactly the thing that I'm anticipating happening this year, just like every other year. Take a look at this chart showing expected time on market. Year to date, there was a little jump in the last 2 weeks, but overall, it's still a seller's market. Also, as per usual for this time of year, inventory increased a little bit in the last 2 weeks as well. Take a look at this. The peak in inventory typically doesn't happen until later in the summer. It's the peak in demand that's usually expected in the spring. Most likely over the next couple of months, as inventory continues to increase, the market is going to soften a little bit. The expected time on market is going to extend out a little bit. And that means that sellers are going to have more competition with fewer buyers. Buyers, on the other hand, will have more houses from which to choose. This graph shows the market segmentation by price. Under $1.25 million, it's still a seller's market, but the closer you get to that $1.25 million number, the less strong it is. These numbers are just slightly higher than 2 weeks ago. For homes between $1.25 million and $1.5 million, it's now barely a buyer's market, whereas it was a very balanced market 2 weeks ago. And just as we've seen all year long, and as it usually is, the higher you go in price above $1.5 million, the more of a buyer's market it becomes. Now let's look at a few cities like I always do, because the overall general marketplace for Orange County, or even segmented by price, is interesting, but nobody buys a part of the overall market. They buy in individual cities. In Costa Mesa, expected market time in the last 2 weeks increased to 84 days, barely a seller's market. That's quite a bit up from 69 days 2 weeks ago and from 66 days a year ago. Homes in Costa Mesa sold for 98.1% of asking price in the last 2 weeks. In Huntington Beach, expected marketing time is up to 72 days, just slightly from the 65 days 2 weeks ago, but still significantly up from the 44 days from a year ago. Homes in Huntington Beach are selling for 98.5% of their asking price. In Newport Beach, it's a significant buyer's market with 184 days expected market time, a 40-day jump from 145 days 2 weeks ago, and up from 153 days a year ago. Homes in Newport Beach sold for 95.8% of their asking price. And lastly, in Orange, it's a pretty strong seller's market in Orange with a 63-day expected market time, just up 7 ticks from 56 days 2 weeks ago, but it's still up quite a bit from the 40 days expected market time of last year this time. Homes in Orange sold for 99.7% of asking price, the highest percentage of these 4 cities that I looked at. Now, a question that does come up from time to time is, what about distress sales? Short sales or foreclosures? Well, it's a tiny little segment of the market in Orange County right now. So I usually only include it every few weeks, but let's take a look at the distressed sale numbers. Right now in Orange County, there are 27 homes on the market that are bank-owned foreclosures, and there are 41 homes that are advertised as short sales. Now, these 68 homes are 0.9% of all of the homes available in the marketplace, meaning out of the 7,185 homes for sale in Orange County right now, there are only 68 of them that are officially considered distressed homes. If you'd like to talk to me further about the systems and strategies that I use for both home sellers and home buyers, please contact me. My number is 949-413-2371. You can also email me, michael@housemgroup.com. Now, right after this, at the end of the video, there are options to click on so that you can subscribe to this channel, or you can go to my website, or you can view some of the other educationals or marketplace update videos. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day. The analogy that I used to use